The word for you today, it's weekend, Saturday. How about that? It says, think carefully before you speak. Oh, now this is an easy one, because none of us have trouble with this. In Proverbs 13:3, Proverbs, the book with so much wisdom, says, he who guards his lips guards his soul, but he who speaks rashly will come to ruin. You could have written that, couldn't you? You know that. How important it is to be careful what we say. So we know it's important to be careful what we say. How come we still have trouble with it? I don't know, but we do, don't we? Well, let's take a look and see why over and over and over in Proverbs, Solomon speaks about our speech, our tongue, things we say. And by the way, an interesting thing to do in Proverbs sometimes is start in Proverbs, take a colored marker, and every place where it talks about the tongue or speaking, mark it, and see how much of Proverbs is marked with that color. You'd be amazed. You would be amazed. Well, we've all been guilty of saying some things we wish we hadn't said. And the book of James tells us that the tongue is almost impossible to tame. So if that's the case, then why should we even try? Well, you know, you can't stop the sun from shining, but we can keep from getting a sunburn. So the same way, we may not be able to totally control the tongue, but we can sure reduce the number of times it gets us into trouble. So how can we limit the damage we do to others by saying things we shouldn't say? First of all, 1, realize where the words we say come from. You say, what do you mean? Well, the Bible tells us in Luke chapter 6, verse 45, that out of the overflow of the heart come the words that we speak. When we have good thoughts and we are spending time with God and we are gracious what God has done to us, what's going to come out of our mouth? It's going to be good stuff. It's going to be uplifting. It's going to be encouraging. But if we are angry and we're mad and we're focusing on people we're upset with, what's going to come out of our mouth? It's going to be bitter. It's going to be harsh. So check your heart. If you catch yourself being bitter, critical of others, it's a heart problem. It's really not a tongue problem. It's a heart problem. Second thing, words have the power of life and death. Proverbs 18:21 tells us that words have the power of life and death. We can build people up. We can tear them down with the words that we speak. And the closer relationship we have with those people, the greater impact we have on them. So realize where the words come from, our heart. Realize that they have power of life and death. Third, slow down. Slow down. Sometimes we get going so fast, that's where we make mistakes. James chapter 1, verse 19 says, everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to become angry. Somebody once said, we have 2 eyes to see more. We have 2 ears to hear more. We have 1 tongue to speak less. Somehow it doesn't work out that way, does it? But we need to slow down. When you're talking to somebody, you ever caught yourself, they're speaking, and something comes to your mind, and you want to interrupt, you want to say, you're thinking, you quit listening to them because you're waiting for that break where you can say what you've thought of. Slow down. So you'll have time to say it. Just slow down. Now I know there are those people who don't breathe for 30 minutes and they talk the entire time. There'll be time to interrupt them, but slow down. Don't be so quick to speak that you quit listening, that you don't think carefully before you speak. Instead of rushing into what it is that you're going to say, find a way to slow yourself down. How can you do that? Well, 1, you can bite your tongue. You can bite your finger. Doesn't look the greatest. Find some way just to slow down and say, wait, and intentionally listen to everything they have to say, because it might change what you were going to say. The fourth thing, aim for understanding, not agreement. By listening to them and asking questions, you show you care about them and you respect them. Try to understand where they're coming from before you speak and set them straight with the situation. The fifth thing, Only speak what is true and helpful. If you have to be right, you are not going to be helpful. Sometimes it's more important to a person to be right than to really care about what they're saying and look for agreement. And then the sixth and last thing, ask God if you should say it and how you should say it. How many times have I not said something and was so glad that I didn't say it? Oh my, oh my. It's kind of like the salesman went to this farmhouse. He was selling vacuum cleaners. And he just gung-ho, and he knocks on the door, and the lady of the house, the farmhouse, opens the door, and he rushes in, and he dumps this pile of dirt on the floor, and he said, I'm going to sweep all this, if this vacuum doesn't sweep up all of that dirt, I'll eat that dirt. And she says, well, you better get started because we don't have electricity here. If he would have thought before he spoke, somehow I don't think he ate the dirt, but anyway, the idea is don't be so quick. Take time. Take time. A young lady went to an older person one time and said that she had a problem with talking about people too much, and she wasn't sure how to stop it. So he told her to go get a feather pillow, open it up, go outside, and just open that up to the wind. So she did that, and he came back, and he said, okay. Those feathers, each one of those little feathers represent something you have said about somebody. Now, go get those feathers and bring them back. She said, impossible. By now the wind has spread them all over the place. He said, so it is impossible to take words back that you have said. An aerosol can, you spray that, try to grab it and stick it back in that can. You can't. When it comes out of our mouth, it's out, it's gone. There's no way we can get it back. Think carefully before you speak. There can always be another time for you to say what you have to say. But you can't always take it back. And you can say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that, all you want to. But when we said it, we've said it. He who guards his lips guards his soul. But he who speaks rashly will come to ruin. Today, slow down. Think carefully before you speak. Have a good day.